Hamilton's brutal comments for the W13. Lewis Hamilton hasn't been satisfied with how the W13 has performed in 2022, and quite frankly, we don't think that there's a single person in Mercedes that loved what that car was doing this season. This is why Mercedes were quick to forfeit the 2022 season, and although they haven't given up on the first win of the season, they're looking forward to the W14 more than ever. Still, Hamilton's comments on how the car has performed were very interesting ones, and they are probably going to propel the team into making a better version of it for the next season. So what does Hamilton have to say about the W13? What is the direction that Mercedes is taking in 2023? And can we see them winning races yet again? The 2022 season was the most challenging season for Mercedes, and the highest they were able to finish so far was P2. Luckily, both of the drivers managed to achieve this feat, showing that the future is bright if they can find more pace in the straight-line sectors and fight the porpoising issue more effectively. But with the engine freeze taking place until 2026, it's very unlikely that we'll see the straight-line deficit being reduced if you compare it with Red Bull, something that Ferrari also needs to address if they want to be in the championship mix in the future. Nevertheless, Mercedes has been dominating the previous 8 seasons, winning 7 straight Drivers' Championships and 8 straight Constructors' Championships, making them one of the most successful teams in the sport. But it seems like the reign has come to an end, with Verstappen winning his second championship in Suzuka with 4 races to spare, and Red Bull winning the Constructors' Championship in Austin with 3 races to spare. Recently, Hamilton spoke about Mercedes and what it was like to find the limit to where the W13 could perform, and it was just one of the many negative comments he gave to the version of the car. Russell, unlike him, was not as critical, but he did admit that they're so far behind because the team has the wrong philosophy for the 2022 season. Hamilton spoke to motorsport.com, saying, "I described it to my engineers. Imagine if you're creeping up behind a horse and you're trying to get as close as possible. What's the breaking point before it kicks you in the face? And you know it's going to hurt when it hits your face. That's one of the best ways I can say what it's like, when you're trying to lean on the car and it's snapping and unrecoverable. And this car, it's random." On top of that, Hamilton spoke about the car in the beginning of the season, saying that he knew these problems would continue throughout the year in the moment when he finished the first pretest in Bahrain. "I had a feeling when I first drove the car, but you can never say no, and you can never say never. Maybe we would have fixed it by the first race, who knows? It's sometimes difficult to know how long it's going to take to fix those things. Plus, I'd never had bouncing like that. I didn't expect the guys to take as long. They didn't expect it to take as long as it's taken them to understand what's causing the bouncing. They've had to create new tools, all these things we didn't have before." Lewis Hamilton's main motivation to come back in 2022 was the 8th record-breaking championship. With how the 2021 season ended, it's safe to say that Hamilton won't stop until he has a legitimate chance to win another championship. But this time, it's not going to be as easy as it was for him from 2014 onwards, with the exception of 2016. Still, Hamilton said that the 2022 version of the car is something that helped them a lot when it comes to the development of the W14. However, Hamilton hoped that the upgrades brought in for the 2022 season, such as those in Silverstone and Barcelona, would aid them in combating the porpoising issue. Addressing this, he added, "You just hold on to hope, and then the next upgrade comes and it doesn't work, and the next one comes and doesn't work. Imagine people that are building those things and they're seeing performance in the wind tunnel, but they're not seeing it on the track. Ah, Jesus, you just keep getting knocked back down. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and we're still standing tall. It's not going to be easy to change the car into a leading car for next year, but I think we have a much better understanding in why the car is the way it is." This is something that has been acknowledged by Toto Wolff and George Russell, as the Austrian said that turning the ship in this industry is a much harder thing to do than saying it. According to him, it's not just one thing that would make the car better, which is why the W13 version of the car couldn't be fixed, rather than the multiple choices they opted out of and replaced with this version of the car. That is why Toto Wolff said that they're going to change the DNA of the car for the upcoming season, and although that doesn't necessarily mean that the bodywork will change, it will have a whole new philosophy. The no-pod side-pod design seemed like a very innovative solution at the beginning of the season, and many teams thought that the season was over right before it started. Still, we saw that this design didn't really bring a lot of advantages to Mercedes, but the fact that it didn't slow them down could be decisive as to whether they'll keep this philosophy in the upcoming seasons or not. That is something that Wolff emphasized, and we cannot wait to see what Mercedes has planned for the upcoming seasons. They were able to provide some sneak peeks throughout this season when it comes to the development of the car from 2023 onwards, saying that they're taking a new direction. Russell was one of the main advocates for this matter, saying that he is very confident in the direction his team took for the W14. When talking about it, Russell said, "I'm confident that the direction we need to take is the correct one. We have a philosophy that we're going to be trying to adopt in our development, and I'm very confident that is the correct one. But equally, it doesn't mean that we can necessarily achieve it. We have a target, and that is a massive positive in itself. As I said, we have a clear target we're trying to chase. Now, can we achieve that? I have every confidence that we can. We obviously don't know how much the other rivals are going to improve over this winter, but I definitely have confidence that we will have a more complete car across the circuit ranges into 2023. But Russell was also careful when it comes to revealing too much information due to the fact that they have competition they need to take care of. That is why being ahead of your rivals is very important. And one of the ways of doing so is to not talk a lot to the media and hope that whatever you're planning to do with your car will work in the future. This is something that everyone in Mercedes is hoping for. But what do they need to address for the W14 version of the car that hasn't been properly addressed for the W13 version? According to Hamilton, it's a combination of many factors and parts. As he added, "It's been a bunch of different things from the get-go. Bouncing was the one that's most visible. Stiffness, global stiffness of the car, to the point that the suspension is pretty useless. Stiffer than the tires. The tires are then squashing and bouncing, so we're bouncing on the tires as well. And then aero characteristics. Drag is a huge problem for us. When we get past a certain speed, that's when other people are pulling away. It's when you brake and the front dips and the rear comes up and the aero transferring during that period and when you get on the power. It's different between low and high speed. There are so many problems." Hamilton also added that he tried literally every possible setting on the car, something that he's emphasized throughout the 2022 season, saying that he was the guinea pig for the team. That is a very important role to have in a team, and that's exactly what Michael Schumacher was from 2010 to 2013, the years where Mercedes was finding its groove and was able to absolutely dominate afterwards, from 2014 up until the last season. With that being said, do you think that Hamilton's comments are valid ones? Do you think that the team has what it takes to absolutely destroy the competition in the upcoming seasons and get on top of their problems? Let us know in the comments below.